All right, you ready to go over the buyer's agency agreement?
Yes, sir.
So we've already gone over and signed the RECAD policy, the consumer disclosure, and we talked about the office policy that relates to RECAD. Now, while we signed those documents, and I'm glad you did because I need to have those on file, they weren't contracts. They were no obligation at that point in time. Now we're going to talk about a buyer's agency agreement, which does form a bond between you and I, making me your fiduciary. Are you ready to go forward?
Yes.
First of all, it's got your name, it's got my name, and our brokerage name, Remax of Gulf Shores. And in order to have a contract, which this is, you need to have both parties clearly defined. Next, it talks about the term of the agreement, which is going to start now when we execute it, but it will go through a prescribed time or the closing or acquisition of any property we find, whichever is earlier. All right? So the covered property, it can be a couple of ways. We can talk about any purchase of real estate here during this time period that we just talked about in 2, or it can be relegated to simply a single property in real estate. But I got to tell you, I really advise the first one because you would be surprised how many times buyers change gears. We'll be out looking on a golf course or a single particular property, and we'll drive past something else that piques your interest.
Right.
So this would cover us in all those situations. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. So next is where we'll describe it. We're gonna put a general description of the properties that you're looking for, so that we can have an idea where we're headed. But the more we look at properties together, the more I'm going to further understand and fine tune what it is you're looking for, and really kind of get into your head to see what you're trying to do, and then we'll find the great property. I'm convinced of that.
Okay. Sounds
All
good.
right. So it just talks about the buyer's agent services. I'm going to become well informed. I need to understand your objectives, and I'm going to ask you for candor at all times. Just tell me what you're thinking and what you're trying to do. And as that evolves, I'm going to get a better handle on exactly what's the right property for you. I'm going to help you with qualifying for financing. I'll introduce you to mortgage folks if that's something you need to do, and help you obtain that and kind of act in the middle between those to get you set up for something you're comfortable with. And then we're going to locate and we're going to view suitable properties. The fun part of it, we're going to go look at houses and find out properties that suit you. And you're going to tell me yay or nay, and we're going to continue to define the search. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, great. And then I'm going to help, most importantly, negotiate favorable terms for the purchase. You don't know it yet, but you're hiring me because I'm a really good negotiator. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying that that's something that's really important. We are your advocate when I become your buyer's agent. And I'm going to work hard for you at all times to make that happen. And favorable terms doesn't only mean the very best price, but when you want to close and other things that go into it. The whole package made up of terms and conditions is what makes a great deal for you.
Right.
Any questions on that?
Not yet. Not so far.
Okay. So next we're going to talk about your obligations. You need to be as candid as possible with me. Share your goals and objectives so I understand how to search for the best property. And then we're going to talk, you're going to give me relevant personal and financial information to help you qualify to meet with a mortgage broker, to talk about down payments and make sure we're searching in the right price range is most important. We don't want to look at homes up here if we've determined that our buying capability is here. That would be disappointing for everybody. So we want to make sure we get that right. We're going to conduct good faith, all negotiations, and you're going to work through me as your buyer's agent. The seller calls you when we leave the house and says, hey, let's work around him. You're going to say, no, I've got an agreement with Kevin, and we're going to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, does that make sense too?
Yes.
Great. You know, and at the bottom, it talks about acknowledgments and covenants. And what this says is that we as real estate agents, we're not lawyers, we're not tax preparers, we're not surveyors, or a lot of different things that come into play. We're knowledgeable in those areas, but when it comes to the fact that you need legal advice, we're going to say, seek legal advice.
Okay.
Tax advice and tax ramifications, we can help you out, find a CPA that can help you with those things. And surveyor and elevation certificates and things of that nature, we leave that to the professionals. So I don't want any time you to think that while I may talk about those subjects, I'm certainly not lending myself out as an expert in those areas. My expertise is real estate, helping you find the right property. Here's something that's important to talk about, and that's compensation. Like we talked about before, buyer's agents don't work for free. There has to be a compensation. And up until the last year or so, that has typically been something that has been designated in the MLS listing by the seller, that they are offering X percent of the purchase price to the buyer's agent. Well, that's been eliminated now. And you got to understand, compensation also known as commission, is not set by any regulatory authority, not by federal government or anything else. It's what you and I decide is a fair wage for me to receive for accomplishing these tasks that we're looking for.
Okay.
Okay? So we really do it a few different ways. First is the retainer fee. If you wanted to just start out with, we're going to do X dollars in retainer fee, we could set that up, and that would be your obligation to pay us through my brokerage to make that happen. The most typical is a percentage of the gross purchase price at the time of closing. That would be most typical. We can also do a flat fee. We could arrange on X thousand dollars to be the compensation on the front end, but we don't even know what level property we're going to buy yet.
Right.
So I'm most comfortable, and hopefully you are, with the percentage of the gross purchase price at the time of closing.
That sounds good.
And we'll work through that, okay? Now, right before the very last paragraph in section 9 is probably the most important. The buyer's agent is directed by buyer to first seek compensation from the seller and or the listing agent. We talked about that when we talked about our office recap policy. But that's first and foremost. We're going to go and put that in. We're actually put it in the purchase agreement that they are going to pay me X% of the purchase price as the buyer's agent and take that burden off of you. But it does say that you'll agree to that percentage amount, and anything we can get from the selling side will come off of what you might owe in the transaction.
Okay.
And a lot of times that's very difficult to get that worked into mortgage costs. So we're going to work real hard to find sellers that are going to want to compensate us for bringing you to the table, a ready, willing, and able buyer. All right?
Okay.
I know it's a lot, so I'm going fast. So if you need to talk about anything else, or just let me know.
Okay.
Paragraph 12 talks about dual agency. And that's the time to time, which we talked about in RECAD once again, in which it would be my listing and me representing you. A single particular individual agent has both sides of the transaction. And that can only occur if you and the seller agree in writing that you're comfortable with that situation. And if we get to that point, then we're certainly going to talk about it. Matter of fact, some of the things I've got set up to show, one of them is actually my listing. So that would be the role at that point. Okay?
Okay.
All right. It talks about the ability to disclose your identity to all property owners and other third parties. We're going to be signing that in a purchase agreement anyway. Your name and address is going to be in the offer when we make the offer. So really, that's the nuts and bolts of the whole document. I know I went fast. Do you have any questions?
Not at this time, but I'll let you know if I do.
Okay. Well, great. Then let's go ahead and get this signed. And the minute we ink this, I am your advocate. I am your fiduciary.
Sounds
All right?
good.
All right. Thanks so much. Let's get it done.